Hello everyone. I just want to go through a little bit of the build system, kind of explain things. I heard from maybe a couple students that it was kind of confusing. I apologize on that. I wanted to make something that was less confusing than maybe previous labs, and it may have turned out that I made something more confusing. So again, apologies on that, and I'll try to explain everything. If you're wanting just to see, okay, how do I just add stuff and how do I test my own implementations, we'll go through that very quickly, and then if you guys want to stay for the rest of the video, we'll go a little bit deeper if you are curious or if you want to know a little bit more. So if you're just wanting to add your implementations, all you're going to do is go to this file, bench sweep, or verify sweep, depending on if you're trying to benchmark or just verify that it's working. And all you're going to do is just modify this variable here. All you're going to do is add in a source file that includes implementations of reference matrix transpose and test matrix transpose. That's it. So you can see that in this file, myimpl.c, I have an implementation, and then of course the baseline also has implementations for those two. All you're going to do is just add that to this as a space. So like if I were to add even another implementation, other impl, it would be as simple as doing that. And all this is doing really is it's going to compile the benchmark harness or the verification harness, depending on if you're using the verify or bench sweep. Each time using either, going through each implementation and compiling the program with each. And then it will also produce the plot with all implementations in the same graph, so you can compare. So if we go through and we actually run that, we'll do /bench sweep, that's sh with those implementations. It will source the vim, blah blah blah, do all this type of stuff. Takes a little bit to run through everything. While we're waiting, I just want to remind you guys, please look at the announcement. I did not realize that make does not use bash by default for its shell. I don't know. I guess either my distribution it does, or I must have changed it a long time ago and I've forgotten. But it uses shell. Make uses shell by default, so you'll need to go and add in the little line I talked about in the most recent announcement on Canvas. I'll also demo that as well here in a second. So you can see all this is doing is just running the benchmarking harness with each implementation for each of the sweeps. And so it'll say, we've got our results in results/graphs. So if we go there, go to the graphs, and we'll just look at this right here for throughput. You can see that, well, I don't know why that's getting terrible throughput, but you get the idea that these it will put both lines on the graph. It'll graph both results at the same time. So if you want to compare specific implementations together, that's how you would do it. I hope that makes sense, and if not, please reach out to me, either office hours or Discord or email or Canvas, whatever works best for you. So going back, just to make sure that you guys fix this, I just thought of this. Please add this here, bash. I apologize. Please just add that. That should fix any errors you guys are getting. This line here, I just want to highlight it. The shell equals. Okay, so that's all you'll need to know just running. If you don't want to understand anything about how it works, that's all you'll need to know. Is just add in your implementations to this variable here, space separated, if that makes sense. Okay, so going a little bit deeper, and if that's all you needed to know, you can close the video now. If you want to know a little bit more, maybe a little bit of my reasoning for why I did things the way I did, I'll sort of try to explain that. Hopefully it makes sense, and let me know if this makes no sense at all to you, or if you think there's a better way, because I'm definitely open to hearing it. So anyways, all this does is basically go through each sweep, kind of what I thought were the most important combinations of parameters. So square matrices where both the memory ordering for both matrices is row major, where one is column major and the other is row major, so on and so forth. Rectangular matrices, because there are some specific things that might be unique to non-square matrices that you might find out as you're working. And then a general stride, where the memory ordering is sort of arbitrary. This is, of course, kind of a contrived example. Really, we're just wanting you guys to think about what happens when the memory ordering of something is sort of not uniform, if that makes sense. It's not contiguous in a way that makes it easy to use for certain SIMD instructions or certain even thread, level parallelism. It kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. So that's what the bench sweep, and then the verify sweep does the exact same thing, but just using the verify program. Going into the makefile, I see that people were sort of confused by it. I apologize on that. I tried to make it as clear as possible, but there's basically no good build system for something like this, unfortunately, and I sort of had to put something together that was hopefully somewhat clear. Turns out it wasn't, so I apologize on that, but I'll just run through it quickly. Hopefully you guys can see that there is some reasoning for why it's maybe a little confusing. But I tried to make it not that way. If it didn't end up being that way, I apologize. So like I said, all we're doing is just setting some variables. Remember, this is very important. You need to add this if you're running on GPedals. But we're just setting the compiler. And of course, you guys can change this. If you want to use Clang, you can do that. If you want to add more compiler flags, go for it. Timestamp. This is really, I wonder if I'm actually still using this at all. At one point, I was using this. I'm not anymore. I was timestamping files, but I found there's maybe a better way to do that for certain things. All we're doing here is just, adding in the source files for things that are needed for both the benchmarking program and the verifying program. And so you can see that we're including the common source files along with the bench program, or the bench file, main file, and then the verified main file. Here, it's like any type of make thing. You can set this variable directly if you just pass it, like so. If you do make and then the thing, and then you say impl names or impl source equals, and then you can do the same thing as I was showing with the bench sweep file. All the bench sweep file is doing is just passing that implementations variable into here, into the make file, and we can go take a look at that now. Benching, what is it called? Bench dash sweep. Whoops. You can see all it's doing is just passing that as impl source. It's kind of how make files work, is you can modify these variables from the CLI. Here as well, if you wanted to pass argument to the actual bench or verified programs, you can do that here as well. The impl names, this here is literally just generating file names, just programmatically generating file names, so that we can just have a consistent naming scheme for the binary files, the actual executables, and then the verify, like the CSV files and the graph files, if that makes sense. Right. So here, build bench, this literally just compiles the benchmarking program with each implementation. So it either includes that implementation or it doesn't. If that's confusing, I hope it's not, but you just kind of need to know a little bit about compilation. If that's something that it still seems confusing, please ask me about it. I'd be happy to explain. And then the same for the verify. We basically, for each implementation, we compile a new program with that implementation. Here it just literally just runs all those implementations. Same with the verification, runs all of them. Here's just a Venn so we can use the nice matplotlib and Osaka Python packages. Very nice packages for plotting, and then Osaka as well for checking ILP and stuff like that, port pressures, things like that. If you need some further explanation about how to use Osaka as well, or how to read those files, please ask me. Again, I'd be more than willing to talk to you about it. Most importantly, the bench and plot implementations. All this does is just, for all of those implementations that you pass in, it will create the benchmarking files, the CSV actual data, and then it just plots them all together using this little script here. I wouldn't say this plotting script is the most robust. It basically only works with what I kind of hard coded to pass into it. You could definitely change this if you wanted to graph the you want to change the x-axis or the y-axis to whatever you think would be an interesting graph. Go for it. I just chose throughput and then total matrix elements. That's definitely not the only way. If you wanted to maybe break it up by how good a particular implementation is by whether the by memory ordering, so maybe a particular implementation is very good at column major to row major, or maybe it's very good at column major to column major. You may want to graph that, but this script will serve most people's purposes, just for seeing what the throughput of particular implementations are compared to each other. And that should be basically it. So to summarize what the makefile is doing, it's taking all the source files that implement reference matrix transpose and test matrix transpose, and it compiles new benchmarking programs for each of those using each of those implementations, each of those files implementing those functions. It then runs those files, depending on if you do the bench or the verification. If you want to plot them, you'll then use this target here, which will make all those files run, or make all those bench marking programs, run all of them, get the results, and then plot them using the plotting script. I hope that makes sense, and if not, please let me know. This is something I actually want to improve and make better, so any input or thoughts would be very helpful. Thank you.